What if the biggest threat to your home isn't the housing market crash or rising mortgage rates, but nature itself? Across the United States, some cities may look like paradise on the surface, but underneath lie explosive environmental risks that could turn your investment into a ticking time bomb. From rising seas swallowing Florida streets to California suburbs on fire watch year-round, millions of homes are sitting in the path of environmental disaster. Insurance premiums are skyrocketing, and some areas are becoming uninsurable altogether. In this video, we're counting down the 10 riskiest housing markets in America, where buying a home might cost more than just money. Number 10. Rancho Cucamonga, California. Rancho Cucamonga might sound like a dream come true with its mountain views, sunny skies, and palm-lined streets, but behind the postcard-perfect scenery lies a growing environmental threat that's raising red flags for homeowners and insurers alike. Located at the base of the San Gabriel Mountains in Southern California's Inland Empire, Rancho Cucamonga is increasingly vulnerable to multiple environmental hazards, particularly wildfires, extreme heat, and flooding, all of which are becoming more frequent and severe in the face of climate change. One of the biggest threats is wildfire risk. With dry, brush-filled canyons surrounding the city and Santa Ana winds whipping through every fall, Rancho Cucamonga sits at the edge of California's wildland-urban interface, WUI. Nearly 90% of residential areas are considered high-risk wildfire zones. The 2003 Grand Prix fire burned nearly 59,000 acres across the San Bernardino region, destroying hundreds of structures and forcing thousands of evacuations. And the threat hasn't gone away. With higher temperatures and prolonged droughts, wildfires can now start easier, spread faster, and cause more destruction than ever. Heat is another growing issue. As part of the extreme heat belt, the city now experiences over 45 days annually with temperatures above 95 degrees Fahrenheit, and that number is expected to double by 2050. These extreme heat waves drive up energy costs, endanger public health, and strain infrastructure, especially for lower-income residents without adequate cooling systems. In a city where the median home price hovers around $700,000, the risk of heat-related damage and utility bills over $400 per month are starting to weigh heavily on buyers. And then there's flooding. Yes, flooding. While it might seem like a desert city wouldn't have flood risks, Rancho Cucamonga has aging stormwater infrastructure and sits near several creeks and flood channels. When rare but intense rainstorms hit, water can overwhelm systems, leading to flash flooding and road closures. FEMA maps show over 36% of the city could face moderate to high flood risk. Combine wildfire evacuations, sweltering heat, and underprepared infrastructure with skyrocketing home insurance costs, if you can even find a provider willing to cover you, and Rancho Cucamonga becomes one of California's most deceptively dangerous housing markets. Number 9. Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Baton Rouge, Louisiana's capital and second-largest city, may sit slightly inland from the Gulf Coast, but that doesn't make it immune to the state's escalating environmental crisis. In fact, Baton Rouge is increasingly being recognized as one of the riskiest housing markets in the South due to a powerful cocktail of flood risk, extreme heat, aging infrastructure, and soaring insurance costs. With a population of over 220,000, the city is caught between natural hazards and a crumbling public system, making homeownership a growing gamble. First and foremost is the threat of flooding. Baton Rouge lies along the Mississippi River and is crisscrossed by bayous and low-lying terrain. While it doesn't take a hurricane to cause havoc, heavy rainstorms alone can overwhelm the city's drainage system. Over 35% of homes in Baton Rouge are located in flood-prone areas. The devastating 2016 Louisiana flood, classified as a 1,000-year event, inundated more than 30,000 homes in East Baton Rouge Parish alone, many of which were outside FEMA-designated flood zones. Next comes heat. Baton Rouge now averages over 50 days per year with heat index values over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. These sweltering conditions strain aging power grids and push electric bills into the $300 to $400 per month range. For residents in older homes without modern insulation or air conditioning, that's more than uncomfortable. It's life-threatening. Add to that the rising cost of home insurance. Louisiana ranks among the top states for insurance premiums, and Baton Rouge is no exception. Average annual premiums now hover around $4,500 to $7,000, driven up by the frequency of severe weather and flood damage. Many insurers are reluctant to cover homes in flood-prone zip codes, leaving homeowners with limited and expensive options. Infrastructure is another major concern. Much of Baton Rouge's stormwater system is decades old, and maintenance backlogs have created a recipe for disaster during heavy rain. Meanwhile, the housing stock is aging, with thousands of homes built prior to modern building codes or energy efficiency standards. Despite a relatively low median home price of $240,000, Baton Rouge presents serious financial and physical risks. For many families, the appeal of affordable property is quickly overshadowed by the mounting dangers that come with it. Number 8. Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Fort Lauderdale might be known for its glittering beaches, yacht-filled canals, and tropical lifestyle, but beneath the sunshine lies a ticking environmental time bomb. The city is one of the most at-risk housing markets in America due to a trifecta of extreme flood risk, sea level rise, and oppressive heat. Located just feet above sea level, Fort Lauderdale is ground zero for coastal vulnerability. More than 79% of homes in the city face some degree of flood risk, and many sit within FEMA-designated flood zones. Even routine high tides, known as king tides, can cause roads to flood without a drop of rain. And with sea levels expected to rise 10 to 17 inches by 2040, according to NOAA, the danger is accelerating. But flooding is just part of the story. Fort Lauderdale's tropical charm also means it's relentlessly hot. The city now averages over 70 days a year with heat index values above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. That number is projected to spike dramatically in the next 2 decades. Extreme heat doesn't just affect comfort, it stresses power grids, worsens health conditions, and raises monthly electricity bills to over $300 for some households trying to keep their AC units running. Insurance costs are another crushing blow. As climate risk climbs, Florida's home insurance premiums have exploded, with Fort Lauderdale residents often paying $5,000 to $8,000 per year, if they can get insured at all. Several major insurers have already pulled out of Florida entirely, leaving homeowners to scramble for expensive, limited policies. This makes it increasingly difficult to sell homes or get mortgages, weakening the housing market's stability. Then there's the infrastructure. Aging drainage systems and seawalls were not designed to handle the current environmental load. Despite millions spent on upgrades, roads still flood, and saltwater intrusion is already threatening freshwater supplies and septic systems. In a city where the median home price exceeds $550,000, that's a scary investment. Fort Lauderdale might dazzle tourists with its luxury lifestyle, but for homeowners, the rising costs, extreme heat, and flood threats make it one of the most hazardous places to buy property in America today. Number 7. Houston, Texas. Houston is the 4th largest city in the U.S. and a booming economic powerhouse, but it also sits at the crossroads of some of the most dangerous environmental risks in the country. When it comes to climate threats, Houston checks nearly every box. Severe flooding, extreme heat, hurricanes, and even land subsidence. That makes it one of the riskiest housing markets for homeowners in 2025 and beyond. Start with flooding, Houston's most notorious threat. More than 180,000 homes in Harris County were damaged during Hurricane Harvey in 2017, with some neighborhoods experiencing over 50 inches of rainfall. But even without hurricanes, Houston faces routine street and neighborhood flooding due to poorly draining clay soil, flat topography, and overwhelmed bayou systems. FEMA now designates over 50% of properties in the metro area as having moderate to high flood risk, with thousands of new homes still being built in those very zones. Then comes the heat. Houston is enduring longer and hotter summers each year, averaging over 45 days annually above 95 degrees Fahrenheit. That extreme heat doesn't just affect comfort, it strains power grids, worsens asthma and heart conditions, and spikes cooling costs. Many households now see summer electricity bills over $350 per month, especially those in older homes with outdated HVAC systems. On top of that, Houston is sinking. Yes, sinking. Land subsidence caused by decades of groundwater extraction is lowering the city's elevation by up to 2 inches per year in some areas, making flood risks even worse. The city also faces storm surge threats from the Gulf of Mexico during hurricane season, with wind and water damage increasing insurance claims and rates. Speaking of insurance, prices are skyrocketing. With more frequent claims and higher rebuilding costs, homeowners are now paying $3,000 to $6,000 annually for home insurance, depending on location and coverage. Combined with a median home price of around $350,000, it's a serious financial strain for many families. Despite its affordability and job market, Houston's layered environmental threats, heat, flood, hurricanes, and sinking land, create a perfect storm that's destabilizing its housing market and making it one of the most high-risk cities for property investment in America. Number 6. Hollywood, Florida. Hollywood, Florida might seem like the little sister to nearby Miami and Fort Lauderdale, but it's facing the same environmental nightmares, just with fewer headlines and far less preparedness. This coastal city, nestled along the Atlantic, is increasingly being viewed as one of the most vulnerable housing markets in the country due to an overwhelming combination of flood exposure, extreme heat, and sky-high insurance costs. And what's worse, it's happening faster than many expected. Start with the numbers. Approximately 56% of homes in Hollywood are at serious risk of flooding. Even without a hurricane, high tides and intense rainfall events frequently inundate streets, parking lots, and yards. In 2023 alone, the city experienced more than a dozen nuisance flood days, with projections suggesting that number could double by 2030. With the entire region sitting at just 9 feet above sea level, rising tides are not a distant threat. They're a daily reality. Hollywood is also roasting. The number of dangerously hot days, defined as heat index above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, has soared to more than 65 days annually and is expected to top 90 days by 2045. Combined with high humidity, this heat poses serious risks for public health and energy demand. Residents report paying up to $400 a month during peak summer months just to keep their homes livable. Then comes insurance. With Florida's property insurance market in crisis, homeowners in Hollywood are feeling the squeeze. Annual premiums are averaging between $5,500 and $8,500, often with high deductibles and limited coverage. Several insurance companies have exited the market altogether, making it harder to find affordable protection against the very real threats of hurricanes, floods, and wind damage. Despite its modest size, Hollywood is home to over 150,000 residents, many of whom live in older homes not built to withstand the modern climate. Infrastructure struggles to keep up with saltwater intrusion, crumbling seawalls, and outdated drainage systems. Hollywood may still attract buyers with its beachfront allure and lower prices than Miami, but the mounting environmental hazards are pushing this city into the danger zone for anyone thinking of investing in property long-term. Number 5. Glendale, California. Glendale, California, tucked against the Verdugo Mountains in Los Angeles County, may be known for its charming neighborhoods and Mediterranean climate, but it's quietly become one of the most environmentally risky housing markets in the western U.S. With wildfire exposure climbing, extreme heat intensifying, and insurance woes piling up, this city of over 190,000 residents faces compounding challenges that threaten both safety and affordability. The number 1 threat? Wildfires. Glendale sits squarely in the wildland-urban interface, WUI, where suburban sprawl meets undeveloped hillsides. That makes it highly vulnerable to fast-spreading brush fires, especially during Southern California's notorious Santa Ana wind seasons. The 2009 station fire, just north of Glendale, scorched over 160,000 acres, and the fire risk has only grown since. Nearly 95% of homes in Glendale fall within or near high wildfire danger zones, which has made insurers rethink coverage entirely. Those insurers are responding harshly. Many companies have either pulled out or drastically increased premiums. Homeowners now face yearly insurance costs of $5,000 to $9,000, with deductibles often exceeding $10,000 in fire-prone areas. Some residents report being dropped entirely, forced onto California's last resort fare plan, which offers limited coverage at sky-high prices. Meanwhile, Glendale is also baking. With over 50 days a year reaching above 95 degrees Fahrenheit and more heat waves expected, the city is part of Southern California's expanding urban heat island. Asphalt, concrete, and limited tree canopy intensify heat, particularly in denser neighborhoods. This not only raises utility costs, often $350 plus per month in the summer, but also worsens public health outcomes, especially for seniors and low-income households. Adding to the burden is aging infrastructure. Many homes in Glendale were built before modern fire codes or air conditioning standards, meaning retrofitting is both costly and urgent. Combine that with a median home price hovering around $1 million, and you have a recipe for financial stress. For all its charm and location perks, Glendale's escalating wildfire risks, oppressive heat, and rising insurance premiums make it a high-risk housing market that buyers need to approach with caution. Number 4. San Bernardino, California. San Bernardino, once a key railway hub and economic engine of the Inland Empire, has seen a dramatic transformation in recent decades. And not for the better. Today, it ranks among the most environmentally vulnerable housing markets in the country, plagued by extreme heat, intense wildfire danger, and severe air pollution. For the city's 222,000 residents, many of whom live below the national poverty line, these risks are more than just inconvenient. They're life-altering. Wildfire is San Bernardino's most urgent threat. The city lies in a corridor where dry foothills meet sprawling neighborhoods, making it one of the most at-risk wildfire zones in all of California. The old fire in 2003 torched over 91,000 acres, destroyed hundreds of homes, and forced mass evacuations. With climate change fueling hotter, drier seasons, this danger is constant. An estimated 92% of San Bernardino homes sit near moderate to extreme fire risk zones. But it's not just the fires, it's the heat. San Bernardino is regularly scorched by triple-digit temperatures with more than 60 days a year exceeding 95 degrees Fahrenheit. That number is expected to rise sharply in the coming decades. Residents, many in aging homes without central air, face summer electric bills upwards of $400, making daily survival a financial struggle. Then comes the air. San Bernardino has some of the worst air quality in the United States, thanks to geography, traffic corridors, and nearby industry. The American Lung Association consistently ranks it among the nation's worst for ozone and particle pollution. Respiratory illness rates are high, especially among children and seniors. This environmental health burden makes property here far less attractive to long-term buyers and investors. Insurance is also growing scarce. Wildfire premiums have surged, with many residents now paying $3,500 to $6,000 per year, sometimes for limited coverage. Given that San Bernardino's median home price is a modest $450,000, this represents a huge financial hit for working families. In sum, San Bernardino's cocktail of wildfire risk, relentless heat, polluted air, and high insurance costs places it high on the list of dangerous housing markets. It's a city battling on multiple environmental fronts, and homeowners are increasingly left to face the consequences alone. Number 3. St. Petersburg, Florida. St. Petersburg, Florida, a vibrant city nestled between Tampa Bay and the Gulf of Mexico, boasts beautiful waterfronts, colorful murals, and a thriving art scene. But while tourists are drawn to its beaches and laid-back charm, homeowners are confronting a mounting environmental crisis that's putting the city near the top of the nation's riskiest housing markets. The most pressing concern? Flooding. More than 47% of homes in St. Petersburg face moderate to severe flood risk, and that number is climbing rapidly due to sea level rise and intensifying storms. The city's low elevation, averaging just 6 to 10 feet above sea level, combined with sinking land and outdated drainage systems, leaves neighborhoods vulnerable to both storm surge and sunny day flooding during high tides. Hurricane Idalia in 2023 caused over $70 million in property damage, serving as a harsh reminder of the growing threat. The heat is no joke either. St. Petersburg now experiences more than 65 days per year with heat index values above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, a figure expected to increase dramatically over the next 2 decades. This not only raises utility costs, often topping $300 to $400 per month during summer, but also puts vulnerable populations at risk. Many older homes lack energy-efficient insulation or cooling systems, compounding the danger. Then there's insurance. Florida's climate risk has caused a full-blown insurance crisis, and St. Petersburg is in the thick of it. Annual premiums in flood-prone zones now average between $6,000 and $9,000, with many residents being dropped by their providers or forced onto the costly Citizens Insurance program. These expenses are making it harder to sell homes, qualify for mortgages, or simply afford to live in the city long-term. Despite its median home price of around $425,000, St. Petersburg's rising environmental dangers, especially floods and heat, are outpacing mitigation efforts. While city officials are investing in new seawalls, pump stations, and green infrastructure, these upgrades are costly and slow-moving. As the climate crisis accelerates, St. Pete's charm may no longer be enough to offset the financial and physical risks of living there. Number 2. Miami, Florida. Miami, the glittering cultural hub of South Florida, is often portrayed as paradise, with its vibrant nightlife, Cuban heritage, and stunning beachfront condos. But for homeowners, Miami is quickly turning into one of the riskiest places in America to own property. The city is ground zero for climate-related threats like sea level rise, extreme flooding, intense heat, and a crumbling insurance market. As of 2025, experts estimate that over 60% of homes in Miami face moderate to severe environmental risk, with some neighborhoods literally sinking into the ocean. The most alarming concern is tidal and storm-related flooding. Miami sits just 6 feet above sea level on average, and the land itself is subsiding, sinking, at a rate of up to 2 millimeters per year. Add in sea level rise projected to exceed 15 inches by 2040, and it's a recipe for chronic flooding. Even on sunny days, king tides routinely push saltwater into streets, front yards, and building foundations. During Hurricane Irma in 2017, storm surge alone caused billions in damages, and those kinds of events are only getting more frequent. Then there's the heat. Miami now experiences more than 75 days annually with heat index values over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and that number is growing rapidly. Combined with high humidity, this makes outdoor conditions dangerous and drives up indoor cooling costs. Some residents report summer electricity bills exceeding $500, especially in older buildings that lack energy-efficient systems. Home insurance is another growing nightmare. Florida's volatile climate and legal environment have caused insurers to flee the state or raise premiums drastically. In Miami, homeowners are now paying between $7,000 and $12,000 per year, and even that doesn't guarantee full flood or hurricane coverage. Many residents are stuck with Citizens Property Insurance, the state-backed insurer of last resort, which offers limited options and high deductibles. And while Miami's median home price hovers near $600,000, the combination of recurring flood events, oppressive heat, insurance collapse, and saltwater intrusion into drinking water and sewer systems makes it an increasingly unsustainable place to invest. For many locals and newcomers alike, Miami's paradise comes with a price tag and risk profile that's hard to justify. Number 1. New Orleans, Louisiana. New Orleans, the soulful heartbeat of Louisiana and one of the most culturally rich cities in America, has long danced with disaster. From jazz-filled French Quarter streets to Hurricane Katrina's devastation, this iconic city is both mesmerizing and maddening. But when it comes to housing markets, New Orleans ranks number 1 on the list of the riskiest places to own a home in the U.S., largely due to its severe flood exposure, aging levee systems, subsidence, and skyrocketing insurance costs. Start with geography. Over 80% of the city lies below sea level, with some neighborhoods sinking up to 2 inches per year. The city is essentially a bowl, surrounded by water on all sides: the Mississippi River, Lake Pontchartrain, and countless canals and bayous. When levees fail or rainfall overwhelms drainage systems, entire neighborhoods can be submerged in hours. Hurricane Katrina in 2005 is the most infamous example, displacing over 1 million people and destroying over 134,000 homes in Orleans Parish alone. Even today, nearly 60% of homes remain in high-risk flood zones. And this isn't theoretical. Heavy rain events, even without hurricanes, can swamp streets, damage homes, and trigger flash floods. City infrastructure, drainage pumps, levees, and canals, is decades old and frequently underfunded, with deferred maintenance a persistent issue. The insurance burden is equally crushing. Post-Katrina reforms and new FEMA flood maps have pushed premiums through the roof. Homeowners in flood-prone areas now pay $6,000 to $10,000 annually for insurance, and many are forced into costly policies through the Louisiana Citizens Property Insurance Corporation. New Orleans also bakes under intense heat, experiencing more than 60 days annually with extreme heat index values. With older housing stock and low income rates, many residents can't afford energy-efficient upgrades, leaving them with $400 to $600 monthly utility bills during the summer. Despite a relatively modest median home price of $280,000, the financial and physical risks in New Orleans far outweigh the charm for many would-be homeowners. Flooding is not a possibility, it's a certainty. And with rising seas, worsening storms, and a broken insurance system, New Orleans remains the most dangerously beautiful housing market in America.